Down judgment in the Nkandla matter. The highest court in the land will rule on whether President Jacob Zuma has to comply with the public protector's recommendations that he should pay for some of the upgrades at his Nkandla residence. The EFF and the DA brought the application to the court earlier this year. The Democratic Alliance says they believe the judgment will be a defining moment for the country. Now, for the latest on the story, Aldrin Sampear is at the Constitutional Court to set the scene for us. A very good morning to you, Aldrin. Let's take a look at some of the main expectations from this judgment today. Before we actually start with that question, paint us a picture as what is currently happening there.
Well, good morning, Elvis. Quite a large media contingent here outside the Constitutional Court as expected, but certainly the numbers inside the public gallery not as large as we saw during the arguments that were set down, and also outside here the Constitutional Hill precinct as well. Remember that last time we had different protesters, the EFF's large march from the Johannesburg CBD all the way to the Constitutional Court, as well as DA members picketing here outside the court, and a few number of COPE members. And this time around, we've just seen the leadership of COPE, which is here, as well as the leadership of the DA. We're still waiting for the EFF, which brought the main application to the Constitutional Court for their leadership to arrive. But we are expecting that they will be here in court, because certainly this is a landmark case, not only on the powers of the public protector, but also the political implications that this court case will have for the president as well as the ANC.
Talking about those implications, the political implications, what could they be for the ruling party as well as for the president?
Well, certainly, if you look at the political implications of this issue, and if you look at the remarks, certainly, of the new chief whip of the ANC, is the issue around the handling of the Nkandla matter. Jackson Mthembu saying that the matter of Nkandla could have been handled much, much better. There's also the Nhleko report. Nhleko, remember that Police Minister Nhleko saying that the president has absolutely no obligation to pay any of the money spent on the upgrades at Nkandla. He also indicated in that report that there are certainly some upgrades that still are needed at the president's home in Nkandla that are still needed. And remember back then when that report was released and the remarks from Nhleko, the ANC's Secretary General Gwede Mantashe saying that those remarks are certainly reckless to be making those remarks, considering that this is such a huge issue. Also the ANC in Gauteng saying that there's no position from the ANC with regards to spending more money on upgrading the president's homestead or maintaining of some of the security features that are not fully functional at Nkandla.
Now, if the court decision goes the way of the applicants, what will that mean for the executive or for government itself?
Well, certainly, first of all, it will be embarrassing for the Speaker of Parliament, firstly, considering that there was the ad hoc committee that was set up. First, it was set up in 2014, just before the end of the fourth Parliament, and that ad hoc committee, all the arguments, rather, in that ad hoc, the first ad hoc committee on Nkandla that was set up, the issue around whether the president should be called, whether the president should be subpoenaed to appear before the ad hoc committee, and whether the public protector, Thuli Madonsela, should be called to give statements or testimony in front of the ad hoc committee. That ad hoc committee didn't come to a conclusion. The ad hoc committee was then revived during the fifth Parliament, after the fifth Parliament was elected and inducted in Parliament. And that ad hoc committee was only members of the ANC, after opposition parties decided that they will not be part of these arguments, or rather part of the ad hoc committee that will not be able to bring forward the president or subpoena the president to make sure that the president answered to some of the questions. And one of those parties that was not part of the ad hoc committee was the DA, and the DA's James Salve joins me now. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us this morning. Certainly, let's first go back to that decision, deciding not to be part of the ad hoc committee, which eventually found that the president should not be held liable.
Yes, well, at a particular point, the ad hoc committee became a complete farce. We put arguments forward. The ANC would reject those arguments. They were not prepared to listen to any evidence outside of the reports that were before us, and we believed that we were wasting our time and validating a process that was illegal and unconstitutional.
It seems certainly embarrassing if you consider the concessions from the president during heads of arguments here at the Constitutional Court, that the findings of the public protector are binding. You can't review the findings, and you can't have parallel investigations like you had with the police ministry's investigation as well.
Indeed, but I think that the turning point there came when our case in the Supreme Court of Appeal against the appointment of Mr. Hlaudi Motsoeneng was heard. And the Supreme Court of Appeal held that the remedial action could not be summarily rejected or ignored, and that if you wanted to challenge it, you had to take that on review. And once that judgment came out, the President changed his tune.
And certainly, if you remember that Supreme Court of Appeal ruling, the application came after the High Court ruled otherwise, saying that actually the findings of the public protector are not binding. But this time around, we have the Constitutional Court that will make a final ruling on the powers of the public protector and bring clarity around what her findings are. Are they mere recommendations or are they binding?
Well, certainly we believe that they are binding unless they're taken on review. And it was a unanimous decision of the Supreme Court of Appeal in the DA versus Motsoeneng matter. So we really do believe that the Constitutional Court will come to the same conclusion.
It's the end of the argument around the powers of the public protector. Certainly it happens right here, but it's not the end of the Nkandla matter. We also have Nkandla, who is the architect of the president, being sued by the SIU for about 155 million rand. We're still waiting for Public Works Department to bring those officials that have been implicated to book.
Yes, it's a complete mess, and it will continue to be a mess. But at least in this application, we ought to get clarity about the public protector's powers. We ought also to get clarity about whether Parliament actually conducted itself properly once it had received the public protector's report. Because in our view, Parliament abrogated its responsibilities and did not hold the executive to account. We also hope that some clarity will come out of this judgment as to whether or not the President bona fide believed that he did not have to adhere to the remedial action, or whether this was a deliberate violation of the Constitution.
Just a final question, Mr. Self, before I let you go. For the DA, what does this court ruling mean heading forward into Parliament? Because the DA certainly was the first one to take the case to the public protector, who eventually came to a finding in 2014.
Yes, well, for our point of view is it would be great if we got clarity about the powers of the public protector. But even more so, I would like the court to rule as to whether or not Parliament actually carried out its functions properly, because this has implications if we were to bring a motion to impeach the President. Because in that circumstance, if there has been a de facto violation of the Constitution, we expect every member of Parliament to carry out his or her constitutional duty and vote for that motion.
The argument from some who've been following this case quite closely, as well as some of the numerous other votes of no confidence that the DA has brought against the president, those have failed. What are the chances of this happening, hypothetically speaking, should the Constitutional Court make that declaratory order?
Well, we would then expect members of Parliament to remember the oath that they took to uphold the Constitution and carry out their constitutional duty. To do less than that would be to shirk their duty.
Well, thank you, Mr. James South there from the DA with regards to today's ruling that's expected. And as I've indicated, that this is certainly not the last time we'll be hearing arguments around the Nkandla matter. First of all, there's also Nkandla who have indicated that the SIU is suing for about 155 million rand. That is the architect of President Jacob Zuma, who designed the Nkandla architecture there at the president's homestead. The other issue is around the officials who have been implicated in this public works program with regards to the Nkandla project. And of course, what does this, or what finality with the Constitutional Court come to when it comes to Police Minister Ntleko's findings that the president is not liable to pay any money? The president's lawyers, or the council, has already indicated that, as they put it, they put no reliance on that report.
Thank you, Aldrin Sampear, and you'll keep us updated as it unfolds there at the Constitutional Court. That's our reporter, Aldrin Sampear, live. You have to stay tuned. We'll bring you the Constitutional Court live a little bit later, so don't go.